Okay. So I did want to wrap up. We're in Siman Reish Pei Vav in Shulchan Aruch, and discussing a lot of different types of buildings or structures or houses that may or may not need mezuzah. So there's a couple more important shilos to deal with. The Gemara in Yuma is the following shilah. Start with that one. The case of the Beis HaOitzer. Whereas a shilah like this. Where's that Gemara though? Right. Tanya of Kahana, Kamei Rav Yehuda. It's going to turn out to be a machlekes of Kahana and Rav Yehuda. So if Kahana was learnt in front of Rav Yehuda, it says Beis HaTeven, a place where they stored grain, Beis HaBakar, where the animals were, Beis HaEitzim, where the wood is, Beis HaOitzer, so any storage house basically. Paturim min Mezuza. It's Patur min Mezuza. Okay, sounds pretty good. Now storage places are Patur min Mezuza. Why? Shanoshim neyosos behed. Nashim make themselves beautiful in them. What does that mean? So Rav Kahana said, my news, what does it mean that they make themselves beautiful? Is rechtzos. They take a shower there, so it's like a shower house. But that's why it's patur. Now the pasuk, it doesn't mean mamash a shower house that it's a full shower. It means they clean themselves up in a way that would be inappropriate to be having a mezuzah up in this situation.
I would think if you're storing like animal feed and stuff, maybe that itself.
All right. It seems that that's not enough. I guess it wasn't. I guess it was kept clean. Maybe I don't know if it was. I'm not sure why that in itself wouldn't be enough. But Amalei of Yehuda says time of derechtas. You're saying only because the women really wash themselves off in there. But hastama chayovin. But if it was just a stam place, meaning that if it was a stam storage house, it would be chayav, right? So your shed, your garage would be chayav. V'hatanya, it says in a brayth, the refes bakar is paturim min mezuzah. It says refes bakar hastama chayovin. V'hatanya, it says refes bakar paturim min mezuzah. It says stam in a braysa that a place where bakar is, where animals are, is paturim min mezuzah. So it must be it's not true. Eli, you're wrong. My noyasos, what does it mean that the women beautify themselves? Miskashos, it just means they put on makeup there. And it means like this. It means even though women are putting on makeup there, so you might think it has serving a real purpose, like a human living type purpose. That's not enough. So that's how Rabbi Yehuda learns the Rabbi Yehuda learns that it's telling you even though women put on their makeup there, afal piken is patur. Afal piken is patur the storage house. So if Kahana is saying no, the only reason why it's patur is because women do things that are inappropriate in these places, and therefore you don't put up a mezuzah. But otherwise, you wouldn't put a mezuzah. So what comes out, if you want to know a stam storage facility, what is the story? They need a mezuzah or not? It seems like it's a machlekes with Kahana and Rabbi Yehuda at the end of the day. So how do we paskin? Right? If Kahana seems to be saying that a stam storage facility is patur mezuzah, Rabbi Yehuda is saying the stam storage facility is chayiv in mezuzah. So what's the psak halacha? So it's a machlekes rishonim how we paskin, and both rishonim are brought down in Torah halacha l'maisa. I believe the Rambam is the one who paskins that it is chayiv. The Rambam paskins patur. And other Rishonim paskin chayiv. So how do we paskin halacha l'maisa? From Shulchan Aruch it says Beis HaTeven, Beis HaEitzim, Beis HaBakar chayavim. They are chayiv in mezuzah. Ve'im nashim rechzes ben, if women wash themselves off in them, since they stand there on clothes sometimes, it's not kavod shemayim that there should be mezuzah and you don't. But otherwise, these storage houses are chayiv. Okay. Adkan, the Rebbe Chabros, he's passioning like the Machmirim that you are chayiv mezuzah in these storage facilities. Now,
this doesn't fall into the shadow of a workplace.
I'll get to there in a second. We're going to get there. Okay, good point. So some important points here. All right, if you just on this halacha straight, any storage place, any place where you're storing goods, are going to be chayiv. Now, yesh lachar, what is the lundas? when we say that a storage facility is chayiv, are we saying that the storage in and of itself, the fact that you keep books in this room, the fact that you keep whatever, bikes, whatever you're going to keep in there, that's enough to be mechayev? It doesn't have to be a human living there. The fact that your toys are living in there, right? Toys have feelings too. So the fact that the toys live there is enough to be mechayev it in mezuzah. Is that the pshat? Right? All sorts of other mishalim we could give. But is it that the things that are being stored there are enough to be chayiv it, or is it just that the person using it as a storage facility and the going in and out of it, that is a living type of thing. It's not the storage itself that's chayiv, it's a human that it's usage of the thing. So the lashon of shach here is when he discusses a storage facility. He's quoting I believe he's quoting a Bach here. He says, "V'chol echad mehanach afilu einun darim shamamish." Even if you're not living there, the human is not living there. Kaven deyaitzev v'nichnasim by chashav estira. Since he's going in and out of it, it's chashav estira. So that's a major key point. That it's clear. The lashon seems very clear that it's the human usage of it because he's using it to store and go in and out. That is mechayev. That is mechayev the beis ha'itzer, and that has practical ramifications. That there are places who say that storage facilities that are totally separate from the house, they have nothing to do with it, and you go there every once in a blue moon, or you really. Let's take that case first. Let's say you have a storage facility, somewhere out in the boondocks, and every once in a while you go there. Is that chayiv Mezuza or not? So it's very possible that based on the lashon of shach that he's saying that the person goes in and out of it is derech is to be nichnas v'yotzi from it, that such a thing is pater Mezuza. That is very reasonable to say. Should you put up anyway, afal pikein without a bracha? Very possible, but there's a strong makom to say that you'll be pater in these places. Even more than that, the Ber Moshe says that if you have, let's say, a garage and a house that all you do is store your car in there, so you don't do anything else in it. He says that's even pater, because that's not. He says the only beis ha'otzers that are chayiv are things that are used for your daily life in the house. So you store your food. It's a pantry, right? It's a storage room. It's a pantry, but you go in and out of it. It's chayiv. Or if it's a garage that has a fridge in it that you keep your drinks in, your second fridge. So you're going in there pretty often. That's something that's chayiv. But a clear-cut storage facility. Even if it's very close to your house, the Ber Moshe wants to say is pater Mezuza. Pesach kitchen.
You've never gone in there.
If you never use it, I'm saying if you use it, if you're saying you only use it for Pesach. Yeah. If it's a whole separate facility, but usually it's like part of the house. I don't know if anyone apply I don't know. Okay. If it's a totally separate room in the house and you never go in, maybe. But even so,
No, there's.
He said that's not enough. Just like a sukkah is not chayiv because of sukkah's chag b'chag. I don't know, but that's so. So you see sometimes that most people do put on, let's say, a garage and we'll put on a mezuzah, but l'maisa that you were not put on with a bracha. I think that's muskum. And you do see sometimes that people don't have it on, especially if it's like a shed that's separate from the house totally. They won't put a mezuzah on. L'maisa, you should put it on, but it's a shiur. And if you have 50 mezuzahs, let's say, when you're moving into a house or whatever it is, and you take it to the safe and he says these two are okay, but the other ones are better, so that you might use that one on the garage would be a good place to use it. So I had a shiur with let's say like a plastic shed. We have one of these, we knocked down our garage with our house because we wanted a backyard and didn't need this huge thing taking up space. So you buy one of these. I think like Lifetime is the name of the company. It's a solid plastic structure, but it's a shed. It's just it's a storage place, totally separate from the house. It's not like used for stamshas of deer. Keeps the sukkah in it. What?
You have the bikes in there. You're going in and out.
Yeah, but the point by the Ber Moshe's case, he's talking about, let's say, a car where you go in there, you store your car in there, you do go in up, but he's saying it's not. It's derech nichnas v'yotzi where you're using it for daily life things like storing food or stuff like that. That's his point. But when it's not part of the shtamshus of the bias, and it's just bikes to go biking, he would pater it. So there's that patziruf that it's also there. It's a mix. It's like a temporary structure a little bit. It's not, even though it could last a very long time. These things, but they're kind of like we discussed motorhomes last week. Like the chefts of it is something. Even though a motorhome is also very stable, but it's a chefts of not like a permanent type of structure. So it might be another tzad also. The third is because it's really hard to, but there's no really to put it because there's no. It's so thin though. There's no post to put it on.
Like a lot of sheds.
Huh?
Like a lot of sheds.
Yeah, like it's these thin plastic sheds. So I didn't put one. I didn't put one Lamaisa on mine. I'm pretty sure I discussed it with Rabbi Sokol at the time, and we came out not. Now he happened to be that he just built one of these, and I asked him, and he said, "Oh, he said, I didn't even think about it yet. He has to think about it and get back to me." So maybe he'll get back to me. They did put it on, but I'm pretty sure he told me not to when I built mine. But okay, but that's the shiur. There's this malkum to be saimich on. So another thing that comes up with the shiur beis oitzer, I started mentioning this last week, is let's say you have, like I said, someone buys a house, you're going to move in a couple weeks, but right now you're storing stuff in there, you're starting to put your clothes, whatever it is. So very often that happens, and so now the question is, okay, you're not living in the house yet, but it's a beis oitzer, it's storing. Why isn't it? It's storing your stuff. Right? So if you go like the Ber Moshe, that the only type of beis oitzer that's chayev is where it's like right off your house and you go in constantly, to get stuff as your daily life, it's part of your daily life. So then it's not true here. This is not your head. You're still in your apartment. You're still wherever you are. You're not living there yet. So there is no such thing as a chiyuv of just a beis oitzer. So that would be a teretz why you don't have to put up the mezuzah. The other teretz that people say, as we mentioned this last week, is that maybe a beis oitzer is only chayiv when that is its purpose. It is filling its tachlis achayim as a storage facility that you go in and use. Over here, its tachlis is to be a house. Its tachlis is to have people living in there. It wants people living inside. You happen to not be ready yet because you're painting, you're doing whatever it is. So therefore, you can't be mechayiv it as a beis oitzer when it's supposed to be a house. It's supposed to be serving more than that. It's just when the nature of this thing is a beis oitzer, then it's chayiv as a storage facility.
And you see the 30-day timeline for you to have the mezuzah starts when you live there.
If you're renting, the 30-day timeline would start only when you move in. Yeah, right, yeah. A homeowner needs to do it right away. Now, another example where this comes up, we mentioned before, is a halacha later, is that sukkah's chag v'chag. It says a sukkah on sukkahs and ba'ayish b'sfina v'chanuya shebeshukim. Stores in a shuk are pater min hamezuzah. Right? Well, the question is, what is the stores in the shuk that we're talking about that are pater min hamezuzah? Yeah. So the question is really, are we talking about like a pop-up store where people just come in and out? They don't keep anything there. They come, they sell stuff, they move. Someone else maybe comes in. There's no permanent business there. Or other parts from the Taz's mashma, no, there's a real permanent business in this place. Why is it pater min hamezuzah? It says pater min hamezuzah because they leave at night. It's only the halacha is the same way. Sukkah's chag b'chag is not chayiv. Why? Because it only services for 7 days and then it's done. So here also it only services as a place where people are functioning during the day. And once at night it doesn't really serve its function anymore. I mean, just to be clear, it's different than a house. Even though a house, you might say, a typical house may be empty during the day. Let's just say a house is totally empty during the day, but it's still your house where you live. You go in, you get stuff. You're if you're sick, that's where you stay all day. Your office you're only supposed to be. Unless some extenuating circumstances, where you happen to have to go into your office at 3 a.m. to get something. For some weird reason, it's not. The office is shut. The lights are off.
Not meant to be there.
Right, you're not meant to be there. So the Paiskim want to say the Mela is pater min hamezuzah. Frek the Pischei Tshuva brings b'shem the Yada Ketana. He says he doesn't understand. Why would that? Who cares? But at night it's at least a storage facility. You've got your desk in there. You've got your stuff. You've got whatever you're keeping. So on beis oitzer be mechayiv, right? Why? Even just because they're not there at night, why should it be any different? So again, the teretz might be one of the same two things. Either because beis oitzer is only chayiv agav you're living together with it and using it constantly, or that, but like something that's shut down at night is not there's no chiyuv beis oitzer. Or we said is that this is supposed to be serving a higher purpose. It's an office, so it's not supposed to be just a storage facility, and therefore you can't Lamaisa the minhag is to be machmer in office buildings. You see it, right? There's mezuzahs up, right? People do it, but they put it up without a bracha. Again, it's always important to know these things. I believe very much in being mahader achar mitzvahs and getting beautiful mezuzahs and investing money in it. But if depending on what we're talking about, but you have something start to be samech on, especially if you already have the mezuzah to start saying, oh no, you got to get, you got to spend who knows what. The prices have gone up like crazy, and you know that be'etzem mikra din, we have this taz, that mikra din you can rely on, that you're pater anyway. So it's certainly a makom to go there if you have to with these things. What were you asking about with it? Should you take it down and check it?
One of the office managers came to me and said we have to check our mezuzahs.
Why? Why do you?
Because it's time. It's been whatever X amount of years since we moved in.
Don't really do that anyway. Not everyone really can. Nowadays our structures are well protected and our mezuzahs are well protected. They stay good for a long time. I have to do. He does it at his house. He checks it as much as it says.
No, it was a 20-year-old girl. I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
Probably was.
Have to.
But so the Taz is saying because it shuts down.
Yeah.
That's the.
The lashon of Taz is v'chanur sheshagaturin delav diras nenu afilu im yoshem behem b'chol yom paturin. Even if you're sitting there every day, the kaven de einon sham b'layla mikirai. Since you're not there at night, it's called arai.
So I'm just trying to understand what's the gather there, and let's say, why can't you apply that to a vacation home? Meaning, it's the fact that every day you go home. What about for 8 months you're not there? Is that on cold?
Vacation home. You say, well, vacation home when you're
there every day. But so that's what I'm saying.
Why is the vacation home different than this?
His home you can technically access at any time.
Say it again.
It's a home you can technically access.
You could also technically access the office, but you're not going to be a non-winterized bungalow. You're not going to be there in February.
It's just a summer home. So why is it different? So I mean, you still would put up a mezuzah because Lamaisa we still put up mezuzah in office buildings for the same reason. But I don't know if we should make a brach on it. That's a good question. I have to get back to you on that. I think we do. The question is, what's the difference? Why is that? Especially if you say if there's something that would stop you from not, it's when can't really hold up to the winter cold, to be comfortable. Let me think about that. I get back to you. Okay, but that's the sugya of Beis Haitzir. Now, Lamaisa, the Gemara said, if you remember, the Gemara said that when women are neos l'sham, it's not like I said, it's not a bathhouse. They're inappropriate in that room, in that base of heaven, in that storage house. It's pater. That's Rav Kahana's pshat. Really, a storage house is chayav. Here we're talking about women are inappropriate in the room. Based on this Gemara, the Mordechai wants to say that any room where women, basically like a bedroom, a woman's bedroom, a married couple's bedroom, anything like that, or also they talk about where children are young children are there's going to be dirty diapers and stuff like that around. You don't put up a mezuzah. The same way the base of tavin, the base of bakar, you don't put up the mezuzah. So it's over there. L'maisa, the Beis Yosef argues on it. The Beis Yosef says it's incorrect. It says that's only something that's a shvacha beis dira anyway. It starts off as something that's only a storage house, so it's a storage house, but zero of the fact that people are inappropriate there, so we don't consider it to be a beis dira. But something that's a full beis dira that people really live there, it's a regular room in a house. He says of adir chayev, and that's the psak of the Ramah. It says v'dafke elu. Only these things are patur when women are inappropriate there. Have a cheder mamish, but a bedroom mamish. Afilu makom sheish v'ish yishenim. Even a place where a married couple are going to sleep there, mishamshim sham, they're going to have tashmish there. Afal pikin is chayiv b'mezuzah. V'yesh mekilim v'ormim. Some are makel and say de b'chol makom shanashim shaychus patur mezuzah. Any place that women sleep is patur mezuzah. V'nirali says Rama that because of this Yisrael Armim, he says if in a place that the delis is mebifnim, whenever they go to sleep, they close the door and the mezuzah on the outside of the door. then everyone agrees. Meaning even the Mordechai, he wants to say that even the Mordechai is saying you're potter from Mezuza because people are going to be inappropriate in the room. That's only where your only option is to put it on the inside. But where you have a post that you can put on the outside and close the door, and it will be outside. Then even the Mordechai would agree that it's chayav mezuzah. And therefore, Mach says it's very important when you're putting up mezuzahs on bedrooms that the mezuzah should be on the outside of the door. If you don't have an option on the outside of the door, the shaila is sometimes the way the post might be, it's just not possible to put it up there. So you have two options. Either you put it inside, and you're signing on the fact that me'ikar adin we paskin, it's okay, all right? But then you have to make sure there's two covers on the mezuzah to make sure it's double covered.
It seemed like saran wrap, but then in case.
Yeah, so the saran wrap's a good shot because the saran wrap might not count because it's like the cover of a siddur is not considered. The siddur, let's say, needs to be covered. Any room where marital relations are going to take place, you're going to have tashmish, has to, like a siddur, has to be double covered if it's in that room. Right? It's an important halacha to know. So they say that the covering of the siddur does not work. Covering the siddur not because that's just its covering. So many places want to say that the saran wrap around the mezuzah is also just it's covered.
Double covering on the mezuzah.
You'd have to put something. You'd have to put like a Ziploc bag the size of the saran wrap. Then put it in, and it also it shouldn't be clear, the mezuzah case. It should be something that can't be seen through.
Right. There have been cases of people putting mezuzah mamish inside the doorpost. There's times of many sandwiches or whatever. Maybe that would work in a bedroom, but Sfardim are very machmir not to have. I don't know about bedrooms in general, not to have the mezuzah in the door, but actually have it on the doorpost.
What do you mean by in as opposed to what would be in the door?
Maybe like drilling a hole in and then putting the
parchment
inside.
People do that? Yeah, no, it's not. That's very big. That's not really. It's supposed to be on the mezuzah. It's supposed to be on the doorpost. Yeah.
And then you have like the yeshivas, so you have bathroom, so you have like the toilets and there's that room, and then there's a room for the sinks. The room with the sinks has a mezuzah.
By Sfardim?
Oh no, just in general, I've seen that.
Yeah? Where have you seen that?
There's like a room with like the toilets, and there's another room
with the sinks, and they put a mezuzah.
By wedding halls sometimes. Then there's like a.
So there it's different because they use it to wash for the suda, or it's only used to wash after the bathroom.
Only after the bathroom.
And they put a mezuzah on it.
I think I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably should not be that way.
If it's only used for that purpose to service the bathroom, it should not be.
Washing.
The question is more when you have like a place where that's the sink. Well, that's the sink people use stam.
Washing area.
Right, and it's also for the bathroom. Then it's a question. But where it's just used to mishamish the bathroom, it shouldn't really be. But I thought most places don't put it. That's what I haven't seen. Okay, I have to pay attention to it.
I forgot to look on the buildings.
Oh, yeah, in your building also you have to look at it. Yeah. Okay, so that's what the Rama says. The Rama says that's always important to keep in mind. It's best when you're dealing with a bedroom, always put it on the outside. If you can't, you got to double cover it and make sure it's not clear. What else is there? Another couple of other interesting shilas that come up. You have what's it called? This is the point one I want to get to. Okay, so this one, there's a shiloh about just quickly. Ikar adin, shuls are patur min mezuzah, and the base medrash is a big shiloh. Pashas ikar adin it's patur min mezuzah, but the Shulchan Aruch brings down that you should be machmer about a base medrash. The reason being, the Rambam says, is because it's kaddish. It's based on the Gemara. The Chachamim say it's patur. The reason being because it's like has kedusha samakom, and therefore doesn't need. It sounds like it doesn't like need a mezuzah. But they say a base medrash is different because since in a base medrash people they're there yom v'layla and they eat, they sleep, they put their head down. So a base medrash we hold should be chayev, but really a shul maker din is patur. You don't have to put mezuzah in the shul. It's again minhag olam is to do it, but you certainly do not do it with a bracha. And based on the Shulchan Aruch, you would not have to put a mezuzah on any shul, which is an interesting idea to know. Okay, but another important halacha here is sif. Where am I? Here, Yud Gimel. Bayis she'ein bo daled amos or daled amos is patur. A house that does not have daled amos or daled amos is patur from mezuzah. V'im yesh bo k'dei l'raveya daled amos b'shava. Let's say, well, 4 amos would be 6 by 6. Let's say 6 feet by 6 feet. Let's say it's not 6 feet by 6 feet, but it's 5 by 8 feet, whatever. So it's so one part is not 6, but together you have a square. The square footage is more than 36 square feet. So what's the story there? So the Rambam says, even though it's in a rectangle, or it's round, or it has 5 corners, it doesn't matter. The Rambam says it's chayev, and that's how the Shulchan Aruch passes. Even though the Rosh argues, the Rosh says it has to be 6 by 6. That you have to have 6 feet by 6 feet on both sides. But Lamaisa the Rambam paskins not like this, and the B'is Yosef says the Rosh's arguments are not compelling enough, and therefore he paskins like the Rambam that as long as it's 36 square feet, that is enough to be b'chayev in mezuzah. That is enough to be b'chayev. Okay, but what if it's less than daled al daled? Right? You have many classic examples are closets. Walk-in type of closet. Could be or like a pantry, or whatever, something like that. Could be less than daled al daled. And so what's the story in those situations? It sounds like they should be patur mezuzah. Another important one is, let's say, like foyers where you're walking into the house, right? So when you walk in the front door, and then you walk into an area that's less than daled daled, and then walk through another door.
Or phone booths, like a good I used to have inside a building.
Yeah, right. That would be another good case. Or hallways in houses that are less than daled by daled. What is the story with these things? So. On Shulchan Aruch itself, there's 3 shitas really about it. The shita the Pischei Tshuva brings down from the Chamudei Daniel. He says it's only a house. He says a house that's less than daled by daled is not a house. But once you have a house, it's a big house, and you have a small room off the house, that's a room. That's a good room, and that's a vade chayev mezuzah, right? Or you have a hallway at a house that is chayev mezuzah. Those are chashuv rooms, right? So that's he's saying a very big chiddush, but a simple one. Just that the walk-in pantry is a room. It's part of a big house. It's just if your whole house, if it's just a phone booth, that's it. Just one of the standing phone booths out in the street. That's not it. That's less than daled daled. It's nothing. But when it's in a big building and then it's a phone booth, that's part of a big house. Avada, that's a room in and of itself. So the way the Chamudei Daniel is saying it, this is just any regular room. So if you have a pantry that's less than daled by daled, a walk-in pantry, it's a regular room. You'd have to put up the mezuzah on the right-hand side going into the pantry, because it's just like any other room. The same way in the bedrooms, you're going to do it on the right-hand side going into the bedroom. You do it on the right-hand side going into the pantry. That's his svar. Rabbi Tveger agrees in halacha, but he says a different lumdus. He says like this. A room that's daled al daled is patur mezuzah. Mitzad atzmuso patur mezuzah. Mitzad its own atzmius, it's patur mezuzah. But when you have a cheder shelifnim b'cheder, when you have a room that's within another room, sheyotzim b'cheder gadol l'chelek ha'kemarchi, whatever. You go from the big room into this small, let's call it a closet. Avada, that doorway is chayev mezuzah. He says, why? Either room is less than daled daled. But he says, but it's a doorway to the big room, right? So what? Yeah. So he says. So he says this room, just let it be airspace. It doesn't have to be chayev mezuzah because it's a doorway. He says just like when you come from the outside into this big room, you have to put up a mezuzah. So pretend like this closet doesn't exist. It has a door. The big room has a door, right? That's how and others say a similar kind of lumdus. So like Rabbi Kveger, you're going to be putting a mezuzah, but which side are you going to be putting up the mezuzah on? You're going to be putting it on the right-hand side, coming into the room, the big room, because it's the big room. It's as if you're coming from outside, right? You're imagining this room not existing, the closet not existing, and saying, "Oh, it's still a doorway to the big room," but then you have to put it on the right side, coming into the big room, right? So you have Chamudei Daniel and Kveger are both saying that they have to put up a mezuzah, but for different reasons, and they'll make an afkamina. Kveger saying ignore the small room. It's still a door. It's still a door into the big room, and the Chamudei Daniel saying that this room has chashivas because it's part of a big house. So we don't care about daled daled when it is part of the big house. The halacha l'maisa, the way we go is that when it's just an independent closet, just an independent pantry, it's not a walkthrough from something else. So there we do not paskin like the Svar of Kveger or the Chamudei Daniel. We paskin like other Achronim. Rav Moshe says we don't go with their Svar, and we paskin that closet is not that doorway is not chayiv in mezuzah, chayiv mezuzah at all. But when it's a walkway, when you walk through there, what?
What's a walkway?
Meaning it's a hallway. Let's say you have a hallway that has Tzuras Pesachs on both sides of it, right? On one side of it, so it's a room, right? But very often you have this. You have a hallway that can be chayiv mezuzah, but it's not 36 square feet. Yeah. But you go through that hallway from your living room into bedrooms, right? So it's it in and of itself is not a room that's dalad, but you walk through it from a big room into these other bedrooms. So then, since you use it as a walkway from there into other rooms, then many people are knowing to put a mezuzah in those places, right? So if you have, let's say, also like you have a foyer in your house, you walk into the foyer where the coat closet is or something like that. Even if that area is less than daled by daled, since you walk through there into the big room, that's how you walk from one big area into another big area. We are mechayev it. We are mechayev that area in a mezuzah.
It's just a closet.
What?
But if it's just
a closet, then not.
So
then we don't.
Either.
Right. We pass it somewhere in the middle. Yeah. It's based on other shitas that other svaras that are said, but yeah. We go somewhere in the middle and say that we don't pass it by the closet, but we pass it like them by the hallways that they walk through. He himself, the Chumur splits it up, and he says not first of all by a beishar into the house. That's the gateway into the house. Even if it's less than a dal, you're chayav, you're walking it through. And he says v'oid, even by a closet, he holds it because it's attached to a bigger house. So he leaves room to split the two. That is generally how people go. But what's funny is that a lot of people, they're very into the most chashuv mezuzah goes on the front door, or they make the bracha on the mezuzah that goes on the front door. Now, often that mezuzah is the room behind it is less than daled by daled. So and it's really the next door that leads into the main room. So that's the room you should be. That's the room really you should be putting, because that's the room that's really chayiv. This room is a big shiloh whether or not you're chayiv. It's not so pasha. It's less than daled by daled. So even though it's technically the front door to the house, everyone thinks, the front door of the house for sure. It's not so pasha. The front door of the house maybe the worst door the worst doorway to be making the bracha on. As far as putting the most chashuv mezuzah on it, there is still an idea of the shmiras habayis, and when you leave and enter the house, of Hashem Yishmarcha, and we talked about it when it came to kissing the mezuzah, that it seems like really the ikar idea of kissing the mezuzah came from the doorway, from the front door of the house, not the other mezuzahs in the house. So there's an idea of a certain shmira that doorway does provide, so maybe it's worth investing in. But certainly as far as making the bracha, halachic shiloh where you should making the bracha, it's definitely best to make the bracha on the door behind it. That's not the area that is less than daled by daled. But Lamaisa, this is very, I occasionally get called down to people's houses to measure and whatever, to paskin for mezuzahs. You're always going to make sure you have a tape measure with you, because that's the main shiloh is going to come up with, is this room daled by daled, is it not daled by daled? We do not, if there's shelving in the room, let's say the pantry room has shelving in the pantry, we count it without the shelving. Meaning, because that's part of the shtabshus of this room. If there's something that like mamish is just like immovable in the room, sometimes you might have a big closet, but it's got a huge boiler in it, or it's got an air conditioning machine in it. So that's something that's not part of the shtabshus of the room. That space gets knocked out, and you minus that space. But the shelving that's part of the shtabshus of the deer in the room, we do include in the cheshbon of how big it is. Boiler rooms generally people do not put mezuzahs on because it's not a beis ha'iter, it's not a storage room. That's just, there's nothing being stored in there. Sometimes people will stick like old tiles or something in there. That's not enough really to make it a storage room. So it's a boiler room. It's not being used to store things. So we generally do not put up mezuzahs on boiler rooms. There's a saying, this interesting that people a lot of times they put it on the front door, they make the bracha on the front door, even though that might be the worst one. What's interesting is that just to wrap this stuff up, the Maril, the Dr. Moshe brings a tshuva from the Maril that someone asked him, is it like gaiva to put up mezuzahs on every room in the house? He says, since the minhag al-makom is just to put on the front door, the main door to the house, Like, is it gaiva to put on the rest of the rooms of the house, or no, I like to make a bracha on them? And the Maril's like, what are you talking about? He says, this is just a minhag toyas. He's like, people may just because it's a minhag toyas doesn't mean now it affects anything in halacha. So people are just making a mistake. Every room in the house needs a mezuzah. People think that it's like the front door is chayav mezuzah, the rest of the rooms, it's like a nice thing. It's even now. Maril was not successful, right? It's not even by yeshiva like that's even by from they think that the rest of the rooms in the house are like, secondary to the front door. It's like this is not correct at all. Every room in the house, the chiyuv mezuzah is on every room in the house. It's a Mefurish Rambam, Mefurish Shulchan Aruch. It's no shaila. He says, where does he think the minhag came from? He says he thinks people are relying on maybe a combination of things. It developed from a Torah, but it had to come from somewhere, he says the Maril. He says he thinks there was samech on the Shitas of Mordechai that in a room where women are sleeping, they don't put up a mezuzah. And then they knocked off also rooms where babies are because of the dirty diapers. And then he said, I think he says the Shitas Harambam is any doorway that doesn't have an actual door is patur. So if you go with that, you're going to knock out a lot of doorways in your house. And then also if you knock out storage rooms, if you knock out Beis Ha'itzer, which is said as a shiur. So basically they took on every kula, knocked out a bunch of rooms, and then it just became this summer out just to only put on the front door. He's like, but the Ma'aseh, this is a complete toyas, and every room in the house needs a mezuzah, and often those are, like I said, those are the worst places to be putting your mezuzah and making a bracha on it, because those rooms don't have daled by daled. Is there anything else? Oh, so I just wanted to show, I guess, see if I don't think I could still record it while doing this.